Disturbing new information this afternoon after 2 young boys were murdered last month. I'll have more details straight ahead.
And you see the video right there, right now, the Gulf Coast bracing for the impacts of Hurricane Sally.
A report says that if you're a home buyer in Florida, the seller does not have to tell you that their property flooded, like areas here in San Marco. I'm Troy Kless. I'm breaking down this story and the push for change to these laws tonight on First Coast News at 5.
You try to make sense of a situation like this.
A first-time Jacksonville homeowner is trying to make sense of why someone continues to call police about squatters living on his property, even posting a sign in the front yard.
This is First Coast News on your side.
Tonight we are tracking Hurricane Sally. Hurricane hunters got a look at the potentially monster storm as it gets closer to the U.S. Now, what you're seeing now is over the Gulf of Mexico. This is video of the plane Miss Piggy, as it's called, on Monday. The National Weather Service predicts Sally could bring, quote, historic and life-threatening flooding to parts of Mississippi and Alabama and also the Florida Panhandle. Good evening. We're glad you're with us tonight. I'm Jeannie Blaylock with my co-anchors Anthony Austin and Heather Crawford. We will get back to Hurricane Sally in just a moment, but first Anthony has some other important news tonight.
Yeah, we have some new information tonight, Jeannie, in the killing of 2 boys and some very disturbing details. Investigators say a man arrested for killing a 12 and 14-year-old in Putnam County last month admitted the crimes in a recorded conversation with a witness. Investigators say in the reports 2 other family members were also intended targets. First Coast News reporter Haley Harrison is live in Melrose tonight where those killings happened, and she is joining us now with the latest developments. Haley.
Now, Anthony, it's bone-chilling to even hear you say, but that is the newest information. We saw in a warrant from the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. Now, according to police, the day after Robert and Tayton Baker were found murdered in their home, a witness claimed that Mark Wilson Jr. confessed. The report goes on to say the Sheriff's Office then set up a recorded meeting between Wilson and the witness. Now, during that conversation, police say Wilson admitted to killing the boys because he felt the boys' family had reported them to the Florida Department of Children and Families. The warrant said that in that same conversation, Wilson said he and his girlfriend planned to kill the boys' whole family, but she did not follow through, something that Wilson said made him, quote, angry, according to the report. Wilson's girlfriend, who is the boy's aunt, has not been charged in this case. Now, we did reach out to DCF, who says that they cannot comment about why or whether they were involved in with this family before this tragedy occurred last month. In Putnam County, Haley Harrison, First Coast News, on your side.
Haley, thank you so much. Breaking tonight, JSO officers have announced the arrest of one of their own. Officials say Arlisa Tarver, who worked as an executive assistant to the chief of patrol, would access the database to relay information to civilians outside the agency. It is illegal for JSO employees to release such information. And investigators say the people she looked up were violent felons, some wanted for murder. Tarver, they say, has been doing this since the beginning of last year. According to JSO, she is currently booked into the Duval County Jail, according to the Sheriff's Office this afternoon. This is the 6th arrest involving a JSO employee this year.
Well, Hurricane Sally is closing in on the Gulf Coast. In Pensacola, the storm bringing waves and rough water to the coastal city. You can see right there the water washing over the concrete barrier. The water's rising into parking lots along the Mississippi coastline. People today have been filling sandbags as they were doing yesterday as well to prepare. Storm surge in the area is projected to reach 6 to 9 feet. Now, Hurricane Sally is expected to make landfall Wednesday morning near the Mississippi-Alabama state line. On the left right here, you can see the waves crashing in New Orleans, Louisiana. Lake Pontchartrain is already flooding. The city not yet recovered from Hurricane Laura. And there on your right, that's a look at Gulf Shores, Alabama. You can see big waves there. My dad is in Destin, Florida. The water at his house already over his dock. Tim, I know this is a storm you are watching very closely. What's the latest on Hurricane Sally tonight?
All right, thanks, Heather. I want to put a few things into perspective. First of all, we saw that shot from the hurricane hunters, and if you were noticing, you could see the waves breaking. Now think about that. The hurricane hunters were flying at about 10,000 feet. For you to see waves breaking over the Gulf of Mexico from 10,000 feet, that probably meant the seas are at about 60 feet. That's one of the reasons why there's going to be a big storm surge, because that is all piling up into I think especially the Mobile and Pensacola area. A little bit of good news, a little bit. We do not expect the winds to get too significantly stronger. In other words, it peaked at a Category 2, it's at a Category 1, and that's because it's moving so slowly. However, that's why we're expecting historic flooding, not necessarily from the storm surge. As bad as the storm surge is, the historic flooding will come from the rainfall because it's moving so slowly. Think Irma, think Harvey. Harvey was much stronger before it came ashore for the Houston area, but then it didn't move much. So what are these rainfall amounts? 10 to 20 inches as an average, but in some spots, especially in Mobile and Pensacola, they're going to have 30 inches of rain. So 2.5 feet of rain that can't go anywhere because of that storm surge that's going to be at about 6 feet. Beyond that, notice, although not as strong, those heavy rains head toward Atlanta and off to the north. So what does that mean for us? Well, here's the big three for now. Historic flooding from Pensacola to Mobile. The big inland threat simply because of the fact Atlanta is going to be hit and so many folks travel through Atlanta. Here at home, our stormiest weather from Sally will be Thursday. We're going to break it down for you county by county in just a few moments.
Thank you, Tim. There is a new report out tonight that says Florida home sellers don't have to tell buyers about their flood risk. Many groups are demanding Congress create a federal law that requires homeowners to disclose the flood risk of a home. 3 years ago, areas of San Marco were flooded with the rising tides of the St. Johns River. On Your Side's Troy Kless is joining us live tonight with the demand for change. Troy.
Thank you, Anthony. That's right. Here in the San Marco area, we saw 3 years ago 5 feet of water get into the homes and streets of this area. Now, one man I spoke with says that he has seen homes sell since the flood, but the fact that they did flood, however, is not a required disclosure. Don Pepe bought his San Marco home in the 1980s. When he bought it, he didn't expect an event like Irma would bring 2 feet of water into his home.
Pretty much a wipeout, and learned my lesson.
He says nearby houses went on the market after the flood. Amanda Bryant with the group My Flood Risk wants to increase consumer awareness for the flood risk of properties.
If you're not in a disclosure state, if you don't ask for that flooding history from the seller, you're going into that purchase with really only whatever the seller chooses to disclose or happens to be aware of in regards to the flooding history of that property.
Here's an example of a disclosure form with a paragraph asking if a property had structural damage, including flooding. Bryant, who spent years in the insurance industry, says these forms don't have the same teeth a federal law would have.
It's a, take their word for it sort of thing. And it has happened many, many times that buyers have purchased a property, the property has flooded, and then they've done their due diligence afterwards.
Pepe says knowing all history about a home is important before buying.
Do your research, find out if it was subject to flooding, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you walk away if it's otherwise suits your needs.
Now, Bryant advises that potential home buyers ask for that FEMA flood data upfront from the homeowner before making a decision. And again, here in Jacksonville, you can check the evacuation zones and the flood maps for areas like San Marco on the city's website. We're live in San Marco. Troy Kless, First Coast News, on your side.
Thank you, Troy. Breaking tonight, the city of Louisville, Kentucky has reached a settlement with Breonna Taylor's family 6 months after she was killed in her home during a police drug raid. Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher says the city has agreed to a $12 million payment and also police reforms. Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, filed a lawsuit in late April against 3 officers with the Louisville Metro Police Department, accusing them of wrongfully causing her daughter's death.
Buying a house for the first time is a huge step for anyone, but one new Jacksonville homeowner may have bought more than he bargained for just in the past week. Police have been called out to his new home 3 times for reports that squatters live there. But On Your Side's David Jones spoke with the homeowner about his strange welcome to the neighborhood.
It just doesn't add up.
Jacob Plick is in a weird situation.
There are way more entertaining things to do than to bother me, but more power to you, I guess.
The first-time homeowner is in the process of moving his stuff into this South Side home, which he bought on July 1st. The deed to the home with Plick's name on it is a public record available on the county property appraiser's website. So you can imagine his surprise when, for 2 nights in a row, police responded to calls of squatters on the property.
We live in the age of the internet. It is not hard to find out, 1, who owns the house, and 2, probably what they look like.
But it's not just the calls to police. This white post in the front yard just days ago held a sign, caution, JSO verified, squatters, neighborhood watch.
Which I thought was incredibly overbearing, very strange, and a little bit insulting.
Plick took down the sign, but Sunday night, a third call to police reporting squatters.
You try to make sense of a situation like this, so that way you don't go mad. Is it because you look into the window and you don't see a lot of furniture? Because I haven't brought in everything yet?
The grass out front is overgrown. Plick said he's had problems getting a landscaper out recently, but that doesn't explain the ongoing calls. A spokesperson for the sheriff's office tells me police have to respond to any call, and ideally, the responding officer would be able to clear things up with the person who made the complaint. But that can't happen if the complaint is anonymous. Plick said it's all hard to make sense of, but he wants to chalk it up to just a nosy neighbor.
I hope it's something as simple as that, because that would make some sort of logical sense.
David Jones, First Coast News, on your side.
That is so strange. Wow. Well, the person who shot 2 people in Hyde Park, killing a teenager, is tonight still out there. And now investigators tell us this was a targeted attack, but they do need your help bringing that shooter to justice. Our Renata De Gregorio has been speaking with neighbors and officers since early this morning when this all unfolded. And Renata has the very latest for us tonight. Renata?
An 18-year-old woman was shot and killed when she and another man were sitting in a car back here at Wickshire Apartments. This is just off Lane Avenue. Now, the car was parked just behind the main office here. You could see bullet holes in it, and crime scene tape taped off nearly a third of the lot, so neighbors were waking up to a crime scene at their doorsteps. They had to go under the tape to get to their cars and even just exit some of their buildings. Now, police do not have a suspect. We haven't heard back yet from investigators who still had questions this morning. The car the 2 people were in was not theirs, so that's unclear. Police say the woman lived here, but they didn't know the relation between her and the man. A number of people who live here tell us that they were woken up by multiple gunshots. They woke up one woman's 10-month-old baby. We spoke with another woman who, right before we talked to her on camera, she got at least 4 calls from people checking if she was okay.
Yeah, it sounded like a war zone. I mean, it was wild. This is crazy, and this has to stop. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. People are losing their lives.
Again, police say that this was a targeted attack. I'm Renata De Gregorio in Jacksonville. First Coast News, on your side.
So if you know anything about that crime, please call police. Well, a Jacksonville man is in jail tonight following his arrest on 11 counts of possessing sexually explicit photos of children. 52-year-old Kenneth Duggan was arrested at his Northwest Jacksonville home Saturday on allegations dating back to early 2019. Now, according to court records, each of the 11 counts involves 10 or more images. A judge set a $50,000 bond for each count. Duggan has an arrest history in Jacksonville dating back to 2005. He previously served time in Florida state prisons for theft.
Hurricane Sally is bearing down on the Gulf Coast, and some of our local firefighters are going to help out. They've left already, and they're planning to offer a lot of their expertise. We'll have more on that in just a moment.